Okay, so welcome to the beginning of week 4, and today we're going to be going into classifiers. And so the entire week is going to be about kind of getting more into the aspects of technical aspects of the language. So tonight we're going to be talking about classifiers. Wednesday we'll be talking about fingerspelling, and Friday saving the best for last, grammar. But basically, for all three of those aspects, I kind of wanted to precede that with the Pareto principle. You may be familiar with this as the 80-20 rule. Basically, we can get focus on the 80% of stuff that matters, and that can get you most of the way there. And we can find this principle in action in a lot of different places, with finances, with studying, with communication. We really want to focus on the things that are going to give us the most in return, right? And so classifiers are no different. Probably about 80% of all classifiers are, you really can get to about 80% with 4 or 5 classifiers.
Come show me.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and hit mute all. If you want to interject, always feel welcome to unmute yourself. But yeah, so again, we're going to be focusing on the 80% or the majority. And so if you got your hands on that resource with Bill Vickers, where he lists 16 different classifiers, and it's a pretty exhaustive list. And he not only shows you the 16 different classifiers, but he also goes into kind of an exhaustive list of in which way you can use each one of those classifiers, and it can be very overwhelming, especially if we're just brand new to the language. So tonight we're just going to be kind of simplifying it so we can really get to that 80% that will really give us the most return on investment of our time and energy and kind of our mental capacity and all of that. So I'm going to be going over 4 basic classifiers that are used all the time. And you might be using it without even realizing it. So the first one that I wanted to talk about, well, actually, before we go into the classifiers, does anybody have any questions as to what a classifier is? No questions? Okay. So that's good. So we all have a basic understanding of what a classifier is. It's just something that can clarify our message, or can highlight a specific detail, or just kind of provides us a more efficient way of communicating information. So the first one I just wanted to talk about tonight is CL1. So classifiers usually have CL for classifiers, and then the hand shape they use in that classifier. So CL1 is classifier hand shape 1. And can anybody just off the top of your heads think of a classifier that uses this hand shape? I saw this one. I saw this one. Let me go ahead and go into gallery view. Good. Although I think this would probably be more of a sign, because Bill goes into detail about like the differences between a hand shape and a classifier. So like a hand shape would be, one of the parameters of describing of what a sign is. For example, this is a sign, right? The sign for happen, and that uses the one hand shape. But this would be different because this is a classifier. This represents a person walking by, or somebody running by, or maybe somebody's, skydiving out of a plane, right? And so that classifier 1 represents something, whereas a hand shape could be used in a sign, like for struggle, for happen, for maybe drawing out a box or a square.
Berta caught me because you're like a person skydiving, and I'm like, it would be person skydiving. You got the parachute, the person just falls, bam. She caught me doing it. I was talking to myself about you.
Oh, I see how it is.
Anyway.
Yeah, so before I move on, like, can you think of any other ways that classifier can be used to represent something? And that doesn't even necessarily have to be a person. It could be other objects or things as well. Good, bad.
Like the
yeah, like the angels and the demons.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. But yeah, typically it's representative of a person. And again, like we could go into all of the different things that that classifier could represent. But again, we just kind of want to focus on the 80%. And we really have to kind of take it one step at a time. And if we are brand new to the language and we dive into that entire list of 16 classifiers and what they all can represent, it can be really overwhelming. We might just not even want to proceed any further. So basically, oh, you know what? Now that I'm looking at my notes, Stephanie, one of the things that Bill was talking about was delineating two-dimensional objects. So yeah, so you could use that as a classifier as well.
I was gonna say that it would make sense because with this hand shape, the sign, she's doing the, she's drawing the box
Because it would be like the
versus
sign for square.
square or box,
Right.
but she's actually doing the sign for, or she's symbolizing the box by using those classifiers.
And
or
you could do that for like traveling down a route.
Yeah.
Or the sign for triangle or
Mhm.
circle, and you can, you know, draw two-dimensional objects in that way as well. For glasses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so CL1 hand shape, you'll see that all the time. And so I really wanted to just kind of briefly overview. And again, like even some signs use a classifier. And so this is a sign for like nice to meet you, right? And so this is both a sign and a classifier of two people coming together to meet. And that can be different in space, right? Like this person is coming to meet that person, this person's coming to meet this person, or they're coming to meet each other. Maybe they run too fast, they collide into each other. But yeah, you can just basically do whatever you want with that thing because this is that thing that you're representing. The other, Jolie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. So the sign for that made me think of the sign for divorce. I've seen this sign and I've also seen that sign.
Mhm.
Is that the D shape for divorce or is that two people separating?
Usually,
I like that question.
both. I've seen divorce with kind of like the classifier one,
Mhm.
but I've also seen it with the D, where with D for divorce, right? It's one of those
More
English
English.
initiated signs.
I like that.
Yeah, so that's a tricky one, for sure.
But yeah. So like he said, it's still symbolizing, even with the D, it's still symbolizing the action of what's happening. These two people who were together are no longer together. But the ASL version of that sign is divorce. I've seen where it's like divorce. That's newer, but I have seen that is a very common one too. But most of the time, if you're talking to somebody, they're going to do divorce.
At least that's been our experience.
That's been my experience in my areas
in
California, that they do this. But I will see people do this too. Yeah, I had to use that real quick once. I'm like, divorce. And they went, divorce? And I'm like, yeah, divorce. I'm like, okay, I accept, I take right now. So yeah. Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, so CL3. So before I get started, has anybody seen this used as a classifier? And if so, good. Like garage, I've seen, yeah, driving off road. That's a pretty good one. Are you doing like riding a horse, or are you like riding on top of a motorcycle or car?
Either one.
Olivia?
You could do either one. Same hand shape.
Yeah, so like
either context.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that symbolizes the person riding, whether they're riding a horse, they're riding. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've seen a fun one. Transformers. Whoop. You've seen that one too, like the TV, like the movies. Whoop, up, 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 up. But yeah, there's, well, you know what? Go, because
What?
well, I was gonna say, because this, there's the other rendition of this sign where it's bent, which can be used in a lot of other things when you're referring to like hiking and climbing up this big mountain. you'll see it done with vent, but that's a whole other point of a different classifier because it's not the same classifier.
Yeah, and I think it's referred to as claw 3 if I'm not, if I remember,
claw
if I'm remembering right, because
Yeah.
there's like claw 5,
or yeah.
CL claw 5 or bent 5,
Bent
and then you
5.
have bent 3s or claw 3s.
And then no, we're not gonna stick to the 4 that you have.
Yeah, so the first one is CL1, classifier 1. The second one is classifier 3. And it could be horizontal like this to represent a vehicle or a motorcycle, or you're going off-road, you're parking in a garage. And again, you can do just about anything you want. You can have, the car chasing a person if you wanted to.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Or you can have the person jump over the car, or you can have the person get into the car and drive away.
Something happened and the car ran him over. An accident, stop, boom. Yep. So, as morbid as that sounds, sorry guys, but he did this and that's where I thought he was going. Yeah, with just no parachute. But it's just when you're explaining something, kind of think about that. Think about that you can use classifiers to explain your story, and right there, oh yeah, I saw. You don't have to go into any detail at all. That explained it right there. Yeah, I was walking and I saw, very simple, but you use nothing but classifiers, or this classifiers. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, I saw this car. He was like, ah, and then this person, he was walking, and then done. So I mean, that's kind of the point of classifiers too, is to be very simple and clear on what you're trying to say. So sometimes you can use multiple classifiers in the same sentence. What? Why are you laughing?
Jolie typed in the comments, you don't need a parachute to go skydiving. You only need one to go skydiving twice.
That is true. That is true. That's so sad. What?
I have a question about what Johnny just said.
Yeah.
So it's an unknown person, but before you can go person, like a car coming after a person, how do you first have to do person, or you could do a man, or first you have to describe the thing before you can go like this.
Right.
So
Typically you would
don't know
label whatever that classifier is. You don't always have to, but it's proper to do so. Like, I don't know, if you're telling a story of, let's say, I went to the store, or if it's like me, I walked away. Or if I'm talking about like me and I'm trying to chase down somebody, or somebody's maybe chasing me, it's like me here, this person like, and I was like trying to run away and escape. So usually like you would label like what that classifier represents. Don't always have to, like sometimes things are just self-explanatory, but typically you would label it. So that's a really good point for you. And then one more. So remember, this could represent one person, and CL3 can also represent 3 people.
That's true. Yeah. Where it can represent, or the forehand.
It could be 2 people. Actually, like the sign for a funeral is like, it's kind of morbid, but you have like the 4 people carrying the casket.
Mm-hmm. So that's where you're using that classifier.
So that's, again, like it's a classifier and a sign.
Mm-hmm. It symbolizes what it is that they're doing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't have CL2 on my list, but yeah, because this is used all the time. This is used all the time. Another one that is used very often is another vehicle, but a different handshake. And so it's classified as CLILY for the I love you handshake. And this is just basically airplane, and predominantly airplane. I haven't seen it, like I've seen it like, oh, I love you, and like we're just love each other and we're just clashing all the time.
Like a love-hate
but that's
relationship.
That's more of a play on sign. Yeah.
Like it's a love-hate relationship.
Like you're fighting, but
Yep.
then with like you're fighting with love. But anyways. Yeah, flying around the globe.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, basically this is just
No.
what. Oh, sorry.
Love the like. Oh, English word.
Yeah, like not global love, but like love.
Yeah.
But you would say global love.
No,
in
there's a
English.
different word for it. Or different. Yeah. That's funny. I knew what she said, but I just can't say it out loud in English. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let's see here. But yeah, so plane, like this could be like the ground beneath it, and it's showing that the plane is moving too fast. Or you could do takeoff, fly, land. You could have the plane bank. You can have, planes can crash too if you want to be morbid about it. Maybe you're better off skydiving.
Awful low smack for someone who's working on his pilot license. Talking about crashing stuff.
There was one time I had to sign a vertical takeoff, and so that's why I was going like
Yeah.
and do vertical.
Some people sign rocket that way too.
I have
rocket or with
rocket,
the R handshake,
rocket.
or just airplane straight up.
It was like Blue Angels or something.
Oh yeah. So
They
then
do vertical.
Yeah. Okay. Help me out. Carpool.
Oh, carpool?
Anybody? Okay, right? Yeah. Carpool. I know. I'm like.
Is that like carpool
No.
or the back?
No, you dork. Carpool. I think I want to say it's carpool. It's like this. Oh, maybe it is like this. It's on top. Isn't it on top? It's on top.
With grandma on the rocking chair on top?
I like that movie. Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, honestly, like I think all the times that I've used it and seen it, most of our friends will just finger spell it.
Carpool?
Yeah, myself, I've never seen the sign.
I have. I don't use it, but yeah, yeah.
But like, I don't know, like usually like in conversation, like, yeah, me, so-and-so, 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 we all got in the car and we drove together.
Mm.
Usually like I wouldn't, I don't know. It's one of those things. Again, it's like that 80%. And so like, that's why we kind of just wanted to focus on a few classifiers and the way they're used most of the time. And then that way you will be able to kind of build up that foundation. You can worry more about building up on those classifiers and utilizing them more and getting more creative with them over time. The last one I wanted to talk about real quick is CL4.
Because I'm all doing the different fours, the cheering, woo, and I'm like, it's the next classifier. Yep.
Yeah.
So you got flow, you like the wind. You can do fence.
Yeah.
You can do.
I see Stephanie doing this one. Like, it could be like any flow of like liquids, like if your nose is running, you're crying like profusely, you're sweating, you're drooling.
Yeah, stripe. Yeah, this one I see a lot for cheering. Like, oh yeah, the crowd was like, woo, and they're all like excited. Yeah, that like there's a long line of people and it wrapped around the building. So again, it symbolizes a lot of people. Long line. Yeah, when you go to Disneyland and the lines were long.
Busy, traffic, foot traffic.
I would do that with fives. I wouldn't do that so much with fours. I would do it with a five, I think. That's personal. That's my own personal thing. Sorry. Hallway.
Oh, I forgot traffic for CL3.
Oh yeah, traffic. Hallway? It was asked. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm like, that's not a four handshake.
Hallway, yeah. What are you doing? Yeah, hallway. Mm-hmm.
Hallway is a five. So yeah, close five. Yeah, it has been a long day.
Yeah. One of those.
Yeah, it's funny because so the schools are back in, and so across the United States, like Zoom crashes have been happening all day, and like we've had like classes being dropped, trying to like shift people around. Then there's internet issues in our neighborhood. Like they're working on our internet here, So then our internet went down, Zoom's going down, and
I
then
told
like,
my boss, I was like, SOS, SOS. And she's like, this is a nightmare. Because it was like everybody. Plus the fires happening right now in California are so bad.
yeah, they're doing
outside,
volunteer evacuations a few miles
From us, they're
east of us.
volunteering evacuations over here. And it's so bad. Outside, it looks like there's fog. Outside, like you
Yeah,
look,
like
and I'm
everything's
like, oh, it's foggy.
orange, like
no,
a sunrise.
It's just smoke. And it's so gross. It's so bad. Everybody's throat hurts. I'm like,
And we lost a computer today. Rest in peace.
oh, I was sad. It was my favorite.
Try
It
my best to rescue that
was
little
an
guy.
Alienware. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these particular ones, but it was an Alienware desktop, but it wasn't like a tower.
It was like literally like that big.
And it fit in my entertainment stand. It was the best. I had a computer in my living room. And then because they did a rolling blackout and I didn't know and I was out of town and my computer was on, it fried it. Oh, the devastation. And I told Chris, I said, that's fine. We'll just get a new one. He goes, babe, they don't make those anymore. I'm like, oh, I'm sad for a whole other reason. It was just, yeah. He tried to save it today and it just didn't happen. So I'm like, oh, well, whatever. Waste not one. A little CPR. I'm going to go have a funeral buried in the backyard.
It wasn't plugged into a surge protector.
No.
It wasn't a surge
It
protector.
was? I
Yeah.
think it was. Oh, well, then it was.
Yeah, like
You
for
just
computers,
plug
like
it
you can get a UPS, which is basically like a little power bank that kind of protects you from rolling blackouts and stuff. But they're pricey. They're like $100-something bucks. I could never justify it, and now I can. Computers are more expensive than that.
Oh, you guys have apps in the air, Pascal?
Oh wow.
Ugh.
Are you in California too? Oh, Colorado.
So it's going that way. I know they said we have like 20
Oh yeah, because
different.
the wind just blows everything east.
They said we have like 20 different fires in California right now. Oh, you have a fire too?
Oh man.
Oh man, it's like a nightmare. It needs to rain.
128,000 acres.
Ugh.
Yeah. I think California's over 1 million now.
With all of them together. I'm like, it
Toasty.
needs to just rain. Just rain. Rain for a long time. Love
Oh,
rain.
that's just one fire. 128,000. That's crazy.
Oh gosh.
As if the world isn't on fire already.
All right. One more thing for 2020.
Right.
Somebody said.
Has anybody seen Emperor's New Groove where like they're going toward over the waterfall on the log? And it's like that feels like 2020. It's like, oh, sharp rocks at the bottom? Yeah, most likely. Bring it on.
Woo! Yep. Classifiers. Falling down. There you go. But yeah.
It's been a while. And we're back.
I was reading one thing that said, oh, it sounds like thunder outside. Or it could be Godzilla. We don't know anymore. Expect anything now.
Right.
Like, it's so true. It's so sad. Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, they can hear.
Yeah. Okay. My computer just said
It's
our
Monday.
computer
Just
says that our
go.
microphone is not working, but apparently it is. So
It's Monday. Just go with it.
it is 2020. Anything could happen. Yeah. So basically, it was a CL4 handshake was the fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I should have just said CL1, CL2, CL3, CL4. That would have been kind of cool. And then just throw like I love you at the end. Anyways, so yeah, so flow of information, flow of people, and that could be it's a very common classifier.
If you ever curious, like, hey, how do you sign like uploading? Like it's uploading to my computer. Uploading with 4s. Same downloading is down. Downloading. There was another one too that I thought of that was like that.
Or even like a water faucet. Basically, like anything that is in kind of liquid form or is a flow of anything. Like it could be a flow of information. It could be a literal flow. It could be like water flowing downhill. But again, it's one of those really common classifiers. And so, so CL1, CL3, yeah, I love you, and 4s. So those are for the most basic classifiers. Again, there's at least 16 that Bill mentions, and there's probably even more than that if you really wanted to get down into the nitty gritty.
This might be a stretch, but is this like flow of creativity?
Well, this is a sign for invent or to create. So it's more of a sign.
Okay.
That,
Just kidding. What I meant to say was just kidding.
Somebody sent us a link to the official flag of 2020, and it's, and it's a medical mask.
the mask. But so yeah, classifiers, they are important. There's a lot of them. Like I said, you probably use them more often than you think you do. It's just something, all of a sudden your hands just create this 3D model of what you're trying to create. There's your classifiers. And so it just kind of appears. It's good to practice them if this is a career for you as far as interpreting, because you will be tested on them. Your certification will test you on classifiers, and they will like be nitpicky. If you're just in everyday conversation, know some of the basics, like the 4 basic ones. Go through Bill Vickers' list, and you'll kind of see like, oh yeah, that is true. I would sign that to represent that. You don't have to like stress. Don't feel like classifiers are like a stressful thing that, oh my gosh, I need to know these. Not necessarily. It's not going to make or break your conversation. Professionally, yeah, you got to know them. But yeah, every day I'm learning the language. I just want to communicate. Know the basics of the classifiers, and the rest will kind of follow suit. You'll catch people signing, and they'll be using a classifier to describe something. If you ever see somebody, whether it's a deaf person or just somebody you're practicing with, and they use a classifier and you can tell that that's what that is, and you've never used that one before, write it down and be like, wow, and call them out on it and be like, hey, I liked your use of that classifier. I'm gonna write that down real quick, because maybe it's something you've never thought of, that you could use a classifier in that context. What's that?
Your knees wobbling, you can.
Oh, I'm one of those people that when I talk, my leg moves. And so if my legs are crossed, my leg will bump, 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 move, and it's up against the desk. And apparently that was why our camera looks like an earthquake. My bad. He like reaches down and touches my knee. I'm like, what? Like, I'm on point with what we're talking about. Oh, I'm just creating a problem. Like, got it.
But yeah, kind of what she was saying is like, the more you have these conversations, the more they kind of make sense. And you don't necessarily have to like dedicate time to really like, academically memorize all of these classifiers. And they really become natural the more conversations you have.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of sounds like a broken record, but get out there and use what you know and have conversations and expose yourself to the language. And, we don't have to sit there with a piece of paper and just, brutally like try to memorize things step by step. We actually get a lot more mileage if we just go out there and expose ourselves to the language and use what we know.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we can get that feedback, and like that is the fastest way to pick up the language and to really become more involved in the community. And so you can be more easily understood and more easily understand others. But yeah, that's why we just wanted to cover just some of the more basic classifiers, and it seems like most of you are actually pretty familiar with the concept, which is great. And that can be, once you have that concept, you'll start noticing them on your own. And you probably notice like, now that we know this is a person and this might be a sad person, and then we're like, you can generalize and say, okay, this is 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people.
No, 6 people doesn't work. This does not mean 6 people. But, and think about the emotions tied to those classifiers. This person is happy, just woohoo, they're skipping along. This person's more sad and they're just kind of, whatever. This person was tired and they just kind of collapsed. They're done for the day. This person's excited and they're like woohoo, and like don't be afraid to use these classifiers to really describe what you're wanting to say, and you can attach that emotion to these, especially this one, because it's representing a person. You can attach anything to this person to really get your point across.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too. Like you, get into it, right? And because like this, like look at my face and like, what's the difference, right? But compared to, there's a difference. Like one is way more clear than the other, right? And so don't be afraid to like really kind of jump into it. And if you feel ridiculous, you're probably doing it right.
Yeah. The more like, oh my gosh, I feel like, oh my, this is, I think I'm doing too much. Like there's too much happening here. 9 times out of 10, you're doing it right. Unless you're somebody like me who's already animated and sometimes I am too much. This, I have to tone myself down. But if you're not that type of person, and so you feel like if you're like him, just a normal person, he's very right here all the time. He never really like, he's just steady. Sometimes doing this and being theatrical can make him uncomfortable, and it might make you uncomfortable, but it means you're doing it right. It means you're getting your point across, and using those in conjunction with your classifiers can be very beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I cheat sheets. Oh, you're referring to the list of classifiers. Annette was asking, is there a printout? And I think if you just save the image on the article, oh, there it is. So if you want a PDF, Pascal just left a link in the chat. Sign is the most fun language because of the expression, even more than Italian. LOL. I saw Pascal. You're learning other languages too, right? Were you learning French and Italian? Wow. Are you fluent in any other languages so far? So English, ASL, and then you're learning the two? Awesome.
Very cool.
Being a polyglot.
Awesome. Hey, you know what?
And we still need to add Spanish to our repertoire.
Yeah.
It's a long time in the making. Okay, so yeah, focus on the 80% and don't overthink it. And again, like have those conversations. And the more we just kind of put ourselves out there, the more we're going to be able to use what we know. And the classifiers will come in time. And it is something that we don't necessarily need to study one classifier at a time, but we will find ourselves just kind of naturally using them. And they're just a much faster way of communicating, right? Like I could say, oh, I was really scared and I had something of value, and then somebody was chasing me and they caught up to me and they tackled me to the ground. Or I could be like, done, right?
There's they're called classifier stories. If you try to find some classifier stories, and they're stories that are done, the majority of them are using classifiers to show, and there are so many out there. There's some that I don't even know. They're just like, but you can totally manipulate the language with these classifiers, and just, it's pretty interesting. Try to find some and kind of see how they use them.
Yep. And that's basically what we wanted to share with you. Did you have any questions about classifiers, or wanted to comment on any of the resources we provided through the group?
Chris, I got a question. Chris,
Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Don't anyone go call MSNBC or CNN or Fox, but I sent a Zoom chat. Do you see my name up there? Because I don't see my name.
Your Zoom chat, it just says Jerry Williams, INT.
It says, if anyone wants to practice at any time, here's my email. It's up there on the board. You don't see it?
Is that on the Facebook group, or is that in the chat window here in Zoom?
In the chat window.
I don't see it. Although that might be, it might have been sent to you privately.
No, I took the private off. I don't know what's
Oh.
going on.
Oh, I see. You put your email in there?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I see it now.
You see it?
Yep, it's near the top.
Okay. I was just saying, don't go call CNN or MSNBC. It's not that serious.
Okay. Okay, cool. And again, feel free to go ahead and network with each other. And if you want to practice outside of these practice sessions, I highly encourage it. And the more practice, the better. And feel free to ask any questions within the Facebook group. We're going to have it open for another week and some change. We got another 7 days in the month. And I think so far, you guys have been impressing me so much. We got a lot of animals too. But especially some of you that were part of the boot camp back in July, and the progress that you've made since the early July to now, man, you guys are doing incredible. And I'm really proud of everybody that has been so committed to learning the language, and the progress really is showing. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and end it on that note. Unless we have any further questions, we will go ahead and end the recording. And Wednesday, we'll be talking about finger spelling. And again, we'll woo, finger spelling. Love it or hate it. Okay, so it was great talking to all of you tonight, and we will see you Wednesday. Take care.